The worst part about revenge isn't planning it, it's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I learned that on Christmas Eve, watching my father Edgar drain his fourth whiskey while explaining to our dinner guests exactly why my little website hobby would never amount to anything. My name is Sloane, and I'm about to burn my family's world to the ground. Really? She just plays around on the computer all day, he chuckled, gesturing with his glass. Thank God we have Wyatt here, carrying on the real family legacy in medical school. My brother preened, adjusting his designer watch, the one I knew cost more than most people's monthly salary. Someone has to make the family proud, right, sis? I smiled tightly and took another sip of wine. The crystal stemware probably cost more than what they thought I made in a month. The irony wasn't lost on me. Everything in this house, from the imported marble countertops to the pretentious artwork, was paid for by my little hobby. Sloane dear, help me with dessert. My mother Vivian's voice carried that familiar edge of forced cheerfulness. In the kitchen, she busied herself with plating the tiramisu while shooting me concerned glances. You know your father doesn't mean anything by it. He just wants what's best for you. Like emptying my trust fund without telling me? The words slipped out before I could stop them. I'd discovered the transfer records just hours ago. Buried in papers, Cecilia, our family lawyer, had accidentally copied me on. My mother froze, colour draining from her face. Who told you about that? Does it matter? Were you ever going to? Sweetheart, we needed it for Wyatt's tuition and some investments your father made. She wrung her hands, pearl bracelet catching the light. It's for the family's future. My future was in that trust fund. Don't be dramatic. You have your little online business. Wyatt needs... What? Another Rolex? A third car? Lower your voice, she hissed. The wolves will hear you. Right on cue, our neighbour Xander's booming laugh echoed from the dining room, followed by my father's performative chuckling. I could picture them congratulating themselves on their supposed business acumen, while my brother basked in their approval. Fine, I grabbed the dessert tray. Wouldn't want to disturb the golden child's moment. Back in the dining room, I served everyone with practiced grace, playing my expected role of the dutiful daughter. My father barely acknowledged me, too busy regaling everyone with stories of Wyatt's medical school achievements. Top of his class, he bragged, though I knew from my own investigations that was far from true. Following in the footsteps of real professionals, not like these internet influencers Sloane wastes time with. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. If only they knew those influencers had helped me build a digital marketing empire worth millions, that their precious lifestyle depended entirely on my success, that every time they swiped a credit card, it was my money they were spending. Actually, Dad, I started, but Ruby's warning text flashed in my mind. Don't show your hand too soon. Wait for the right moment. Ruby, my business partner and the only person who knew the truth, was right. Tonight wasn't the time. Let them enjoy their last comfortable Christmas. Never mind, I murmured, excusing myself from the table. In my childhood bedroom, I opened my encrypted laptop, the one they thought I used for blogging, and logged into my company's secure server. Revenue streams from luxury brands scrolled across the screen, each number larger than my father had ever seen in his banking career. A new email from Cecilia caught my eye. More documents about the trust fund transfer. My father's forgery of my signature was clear as day. The final betrayal. My phone buzzed with a text from Ruby. You okay? Remember, revenge is a dish best served cold. I typed back. Time to turn down the temperature. Looking out my window at our sprawling estate, I watched my family's carefully constructed facade glitter in the Christmas lights. They had no idea their comfortable world was built on my success, on my generosity, on my silence. But silence had never served me well. I opened my banking app and began setting up automated withdrawals, small ones at first, Nothing too obvious. By the time they noticed, it would be too late. The house of cards they'd built on my foundation was about to collapse, one credit card decline at a time. "Sloane!" my mother's voice floated up the stairs. "Your father's about to give his annual Christmas toast." I smiled, closing my laptop. Let him toast. Let them all celebrate. They have no idea what's coming. You know this is going to destroy them, right? Ruby set down her coffee mug, fixing me with that look she reserves for when I'm about to do something particularly destructive. We were sitting in her private office, 40 stories above Manhattan, where no one could overhear our conversation. "They destroyed themselves," I replied, pulling up the latest expense report on my tablet. "Look at this. Last month alone, $42,000 on entertainment. That's my money they're burning through. Show me the full damage." Ruby leaned forward, her designer blazer catching the morning light. As my CFO and best friend, she was the only person who knew both sides of my life. I scrolled through the list. Private club memberships, $15,000 monthly. Wyatt's apartment, $6,000. Mum's weekly spa treatments, $2,000. Dad's wine collection. I laughed bitterly. I can't even look at that number without getting angry. And they have no idea it's all coming from your company? They think I play around with social media for pocket money. Meanwhile, I'm running one of the largest luxury digital marketing firms in the country. I stood up, walking to the window. You should have seen Dad at Christmas, telling everyone how disappointed he is that I never lived up to my potential. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "Darling, the country club declined our cards again. So embarrassing. Can you check with the bank? Must be their error." "It's starting," I showed Ruby the message. "I cancelled their club membership yesterday." "Sloane?" Ruby's voice carried a warning. "Remember when we were starting out and you said you wanted to prove them wrong? This feels more like punishment than proof." A memory flashed. I was 16, showing my father my first website design. He'd barely glanced at it before launching into a lecture about how I was wasting my time with computers when I should be focusing on real work like my brother. "You don't understand," I said. "Every single day of my childhood it was, why can't you be more like Wyatt? Or, at least Wyatt knows what he wants to do with his life." They never saw me, never believed in me. Ruby stood up, walking over to join me at the window. "So show them now. Tell them about the company, about everything you've built." "It's too late for that." I pulled up another document on my tablet, the forged trust fund papers. They stole my future to fund his. They don't deserve to know about my success. My phone buzzed again, this time from Wyatt. "Hey, sis, weird question, but did Mum and Dad say anything about money troubles? My rent payment bounced." "Watch this," I showed Ruby as I typed back. "No idea. Maybe ask Dad. I'm sure it's nothing." "You're enjoying this," Ruby observed. "Maybe a little." I wasn't proud of it, but the petty satisfaction felt good. Want to know what's really going to hurt? In about an hour, they're going to discover their credit cards have new limits, very, very low limits. Right on cue, my phone exploded with notifications. First, my mother. "Emergency! All cards declined at Bergdorf's. Call me." Then my father. "Family meeting tonight? Non-negotiable?" Finally, Wyatt. "Dad's having a meltdown. What's going on?" Ruby shook her head. "You know they're going to start digging. What if they trace everything back to you?" Let them try. I'd spent years building firewalls between my public and private lives. They'll have to admit they've been living off my money first. Can you imagine my father confessing that his disappointing daughter has been bankrolling his entire lifestyle? And what about Cecilia? The family lawyer knows everything. Cecilia's bound by client confidentiality. Besides, I smiled grimly, she's seen the forged documents. She knows exactly what they did with my trust fund. My phone rang. My mother again. I let it go to voicemail. You should at least answer, Ruby suggested. Maintain the illusion a little longer. I picked up my tablet instead, pulling up the family house deed. You know what would really maintain the illusion? If I list the house for sale right now. As trust fund executor, I have that right. Sloane, Ruby grabbed my arm. That's their home. No, I corrected her. That's my property that they've been living in rent-free. And I think it's time for them to understand exactly what playing around on computers can buy you these days. I hit the button to contact our real estate division. Within minutes, the wheels were in motion. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from my father. Your mother's in tears. I hope you're happy with yourself. I typed back, sorry, busy with my little hobby, can't talk right now. Ruby sighed heavily. I hope you know what you're doing. Trust me, I said, watching as the first for sale notification went live. I know exactly what I'm doing. The real question was, did they? The repo men came for Wyatt's BMW on a sunny Tuesday morning. I watched from my apartment window across town as they loaded it onto a flatbed truck, my brother gesturing wildly in his medical scrubs while the neighbours pretended not to stare. My phone started ringing immediately. How could you let this happen? Wyatt's voice cracked with rage. I'm going to be late for my rotation. Let what happen? I kept my voice innocent. I thought Dad handled all your car payments. He did. I don't know what's going on, but fix it. Sorry, little brother. My hobby doesn't pay enough to help with luxury cars. The line went dead. I counted down from 10, and right on schedule, my mother called. The country club, she whispered, mortification dripping from every word. We were hosting the charity committee luncheon, and the cards. Sloane, it was humiliating. Mrs. Wolfe had to cover the bill. That sounds awful, Mom. Maybe cut back on the charity lunches for a while. Cut back? She sounded scandalised. What would people think? They might think you're living beyond your means. Silence crackled over the line. Then, your father wants to speak with you. Sloane. My father's voice was tight with controlled anger. We're meeting with Cecilia this afternoon. I expect you to be there. Can't. I have work. This isn't a request. 3 o'clock. He hung up before I could respond. I smiled, opening my laptop to check the time of my actual 3 o'clock. A video call with luxury brands in Milan worth more than my father's annual salary. At 3:15 I texted, Sorry, stuck at work. Fill me in later. The response came from Cecilia herself. Sloane, as your family's lawyer, I strongly advise you to attend this meeting. There are serious matters to discuss. I replied, Send me the documents to review. 10 minutes later, my inbox pinged. I opened Cecilia's email, scanning through financial statements and legal notices. Then I saw it, buried in the middle of a trust fund document, my father's attempt at forging my signature. It wasn't even a good forgery. He'd spelled my middle name wrong. My phone buzzed again. Wyatt. Dad's losing it. Says we might have to sell the house. What the hell is happening? I switched to my secure email and sent Cecilia a simple message. Please review page 47, paragraph 3, signature line. That's not my handwriting. The response was immediate. Come to my office, now. I took my time getting there, stopping for coffee and watching through the glass as my family paced Cecilia's conference room. When I finally walked in, the tension was thick enough to cut. Nice of you to join us, my father snapped. Sorry, busy earning pocket money. I sat down, noting how my mother wouldn't meet my eyes. Cecilia cleared her throat. We need to discuss the trust fund irregularities. Irregularities? My father's face reddened. A simple transfer to help Wyatt's education. A transfer I never authorised, I interrupted, with a forged signature. The room went silent. Wyatt looked between our father and me, confusion crossing his face. What transfer? Your sister's trust fund, Cecilia explained carefully. "It was emptied 8 months ago. The signatures appear questionable." Questionable? I pulled out my phone, displaying my real signature from other documents. "Let's compare, shall we?" "Now see here," my father started, but Cecilia cut him off. "Edgar, I advise you not to speak further without separate representation." My mother burst into tears. "We needed the money. Your father's investments were failing," I finished, "so you stole my inheritance to cover your mistakes." "We did not steal," my father began. "Fraud, then," I suggested. "Should we ask Cecilia which word she prefers legally?" Wyatt stood up suddenly. "This is insane. Dad, tell her she's wrong." But our father's silence spoke volumes. "The house is in the trust's name," Cecilia continued, "given these circumstances." "You can't sell it," my mother whispered. "Where would we live?" I stood up, smoothing my designer dress, worth more than their monthly mortgage payment. "Maybe it's time to start living within your actual means." "Your actual means," my father spat, "are nothing without family support. Remember that." I laughed, the sound sharp and cold. "Are you sure about that?" My phone buzzed, Ruby warning me not to reveal too much too soon. But watching their faces, seeing the first cracks in their perfect facade, I couldn't resist. "Check your email," I told Cecilia. "I've sent some additional documents about where that trust fund money really went. Spoiler alert, it wasn't all for medical school." Wyatt went pale. I headed for the door, pausing only to say, "By the way, the house listing goes live tomorrow. I'd start packing." Behind me, my mother started sobbing again. But for the first time in years, the sound didn't make me feel guilty at all. The first potential buyers toured the house while my family was still living in it. I watched through the security cameras I'd installed years ago as my mother tried to maintain her composure, offering coffee to strangers who were examining her soon-to-be former home. "This is cruel," Ruby said, watching over my shoulder in my office. "Even for you, cruel was stealing my trust fund." I switched camera views to see my father in his study, frantically making phone calls. Cruel was making me feel worthless for 15 years. My phone lit up with Wyatt's name. I put it on speaker. "You have to stop this," he pleaded. "Mum's having anxiety attacks. Dad can't sleep. Just tell us what you want." "I want the truth," I replied, "about everything, including your gambling debts." The line went silent for a moment. "How did you—" "I know about the underground poker games, the sports betting, the loans you took out using my trust fund as collateral. Should I continue?" "You don't understand," he whispered. "I got in over my head. Dad said he'd handle it." "With my money. It was a family emergency." "No," I corrected him. "It was your emergency, and now it's your problem." I hung up as Cecilia's number flashed on my screen. "Your father is threatening legal action," she said without preamble. "For what? Selling property I legally own?" "He's claiming emotional distress, financial sabotage. Sloane, he's desperate." I laughed. "Good. This isn't a game. He's talking about exposing your fraudulent business practices on social media." That made me sit up straighter. Ruby shot me a concerned look. "What exactly does he think he knows?" I asked carefully. "He's convinced your income must be illegal, says he'll prove you're running some sort of digital scam. I pulled up my company's public relations protocol on my second monitor. Let him try." "Sloane, no, really, let him. I've got 15 years of documented success, contracts with Fortune 500 companies, and a spotless business record. What's he got? Forged documents and gambling debts?" After hanging up, I turned to Ruby. "Think it's time for phase 2? "You mean revealing yourself as the CEO? That's going nuclear." "Not yet." I pulled up my banking app. "But maybe it's time to freeze the last of their credit lines." Ruby grabbed my wrist. "Wait, what if they retaliate? Really retaliate. Your father has connections. Had connections, I corrected her, before I started cancelling country club memberships and calling in loans. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We know what you're doing. Stop now, or everyone learns the truth about your company. Day, see? Ruby pointed at my screen. They're getting desperate. Good. I forwarded the text to our legal team. Let them dig. Every rock they turn over will just expose more of their own lies. The security feed showed a new scene. My mother crying in the kitchen, while Mrs. Wolfe awkwardly patted her shoulder. I turned up the volume. It's just terrible, my mother sobbed. First the cards, then Wyatt's car, now the house. I don't understand what we did wrong. Mrs. Wolfe's response was unexpected. Perhaps it's time to ask Sloane for help. My mother's head snapped up. Sloane, she can barely support herself with that internet thing she does. Are you sure about that? Mrs. Wolfe's voice was careful. My husband says she's quite successful in digital marketing. Something about luxury brands. I watched my mother's face change as the first seed of doubt took root. That's impossible. She just posts things online. Vivian, darling, when was the last time you actually asked your daughter about her work? The camera caught my mother's stricken expression before she fled the room. Well, Ruby said quietly, that's one way for them to find out. My phone lit up again. My father. Whatever game you're playing, it ends now. I'm going public with everything I know about your business dealings. I typed back, Funny, I was just about to do the same with yours. His response came quickly. You're bluffing. I sent him a single screenshot. Bank records showing exactly where my trust fund money had really gone. Not to medical school, but to cover gambling debts and failed investments. The security feed showed him receiving it, watching his face drain of colour. This could get ugly, Ruby warned. It already is ugly. I stood up, gathering my things. But I'm done hiding. Where are you going? Home, I said, checking my lipstick in my phone's reflection. I think it's time for a family meeting, a real one. Be careful, Ruby called after me. Cornered animals bite hardest. I stepped into the elevator, watching the floor numbers descend. She was right. This was the dangerous part. But I'd spent 15 years being careful, being quiet, being underestimated. I was done being any of those things. I found them all in the living room, huddled around my father's laptop like survivors around a campfire. Their heads snapped up when I walked in, designer heels clicking against the marble floors they couldn't afford. You've got some nerve showing up here, my father growled. It's still technically my house. I settled into my favourite armchair. Nice social media post, by the way. Calling me a fraud was a bold choice. Wyatt jumped up. You're destroying this family. No, your gambling debts did that. I pulled out my phone, displaying his betting history. Shall we discuss the $500,000 you lost last month alone? He collapsed back onto the sofa, face ashen. My mother gasped. Wyatt, tell me that's not true. It's all true, I continued, scrolling through documents. The forged checks, the maxed-out credit cards, the fake medical school transcripts. Fake? My mother's voice cracked. But you're top of your class. He's on academic probation, I corrected. Have been for months. The trust fund money didn't go to tuition, it went to bookies. My father stood up, looming over me. You think you can come in here and... And what? I met his gaze. Tell the truth. Someone should. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Xander Wolfe's distinctive silver hair. Perfect timing, I smiled. Let him in, Mom. He should hear this too. Don't you dare, my father started, but Xander was already stepping into the room. Edgar, just saw your fascinating post about Sloane's fraudulent business practices. Xander's voice carried an edge of amusement. Thought I should stop by and clear up any confusion. My father's face reddened. This is a private family matter. Is it? Xander settled onto the couch. Because publicly accusing one of the most successful digital marketing CEOs in the country of fraud seems rather public. The room went silent. My mother's hand flew to her throat. CEO? Wyatt whispered. Oh yes, Xander continued cheerfully. Your sister's little hobby handles digital strategy for half the luxury brands in Europe. My investment firm has been trying to partner with her for years. I watched their faces as reality crashed through their carefully constructed illusions. My mother sank into a chair, her perfect posture crumbling. That's impossible, my father insisted. She just posts things online. She just built a 9-figure company, Xander corrected. Really, Edgar, did you never wonder how you could afford all this? He gestured around the room. The house, the cars, the memberships. We paid for everything ourselves. Through accounts I controlled, I interrupted. Every credit card, every loan, every investment. It all came from my company, my money. Wyatt's face had gone from pale to green. The gambling debts were covered by me, until now. My father lunged for his laptop. I'll delete the post. Too late. I showed him my phone screen. It's already been responded to by my company's PR team with full documentation of our corporate success and your financial fraud. As if on cue, his phone started ringing, then my mother's, then Wyatt's. The country club board, my mother whispered, staring at her screen. They're revoking our membership. The hospital, Wyatt choked out. They want to discuss my academic status. My father's phone kept buzzing. The bank, the investment group, everyone. Amazing how quickly people distance themselves from scandal, Xander observed mildly, especially financial scandal. You planned this, my father accused, pointing at me with a shaking finger. You orchestrated everything. No, I stood up, smoothing my dress. You did. Every time you belittled me, every time you stole from me, every time you chose him. I pointed at Wyatt. Over me. You built this house of cards. I'm just letting it fall. Where are we supposed to go? My mother's voice was small. What are we supposed to do? That's not my problem anymore. I headed for the door, pausing only to add, the house needs to be empty by Friday. The new owners are eager to move in. You can't just leave us with nothing, Wyatt shouted. I turned back one last time. Nothing? You mean like what you left me with when you took my trust fund? Funny how karma works. Xander followed me out, waiting until we were on the front steps to speak. That was rather spectacular. It's not over, I said, watching through the window as my family's world imploded. They'll try something else. They always do. But of course they will. He smiled grimly. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? My phone buzzed with a notification, an anonymous email threatening to expose everything. Let them try, I said, sliding into my car. I've got nothing left to hide. But as I drove away, Ruby's warning echoed in my head. Cornered animals bite hardest, and my family had just been cornered in the most public way possible. The social implosion was spectacular to watch, like a train wreck in slow motion. My parents had to move in with my mother's sister in New Jersey, a fact that mortified them more than the bankruptcy itself. Wyatt disappeared to rehab, though Ruby's sources spotted him in Las Vegas, trying to win back his losses. I was reviewing the fallout in Ruby's office when the first serious threat arrived. Your father's hired a private investigator, Ruby announced, dropping a file on her desk. They're digging into every contract, every client, every transaction we've ever made. Let them dig, I sipped my coffee. Everything's legal. It's not about legality anymore, Ruby leaned forward. They're looking for anything they can twist, any relationship they can poison. Your father's been calling our clients. That made me pause. Which ones? All of them. He's claiming you built the company using stolen family connections, that your success is based on his reputation. I laughed. but it sounded hollow even to me. His reputation is in shambles. Doesn't matter, he's creating doubt, and in luxury marketing, doubt is poison. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Wolfe. Having dinner with your mother. She's not well. Maybe it's time to end this. I deleted the message without responding. Sloane, Ruby's voice was gentle. Does it feel as good as you thought it would? Before I could answer, my office door burst open. Wyatt stormed in, looking worse than I'd ever seen him. Happy now? He threw a newspaper onto Ruby's desk. The society pages showed our parents leaving their bankruptcy hearing. Mom can barely leave the house. Dad's drinking constantly. Is this what you wanted? What I wanted? I stood up slowly. What I wanted was a family that didn't treat me like a disappointment. What I wanted was my trust fund not to be stolen. What I wanted was revenge, he cut in. Well, congratulations. You got it. We're ruined. You ruined yourselves. Maybe. He ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. But you didn't have to destroy everything. Like you destroyed my future? That money was supposed to help the family. By funding your gambling addiction? He flinched. I'm getting help. Too little? Too late? At least I'm trying. He slammed his hand on the desk. What's your excuse? When does this end, Sloane? When we're all completely broken? Ruby cleared her throat. I should give you two some privacy. No, I said sharply. He's leaving. Fine. Wyatt headed for the door, then turned back. But remember something, sis. You're not just hurting Mum and Dad. You're hurting yourself too. I see it in your eyes. This revenge isn't filling that hole inside you. It's making it bigger. After he left, Ruby touched my arm. He might have a point. Don't, I pulled away. They deserve everything they're getting. Do they? Or are you still that little girl desperate for their approval? I don't need their approval anymore. No? She pulled up our company's latest numbers. Then why do you keep checking if they've looked at our success metrics? Why do you monitor their social media? Why do you... My phone rang. Cecilia this time. Your father's filed a lawsuit. He's claiming emotional distress, defamation, and corporate espionage. Corporate what? I grabbed my laptop. Based on what? He's saying you used his business contacts without permission, that you built your client base by trading on his name. That's ridiculous. I built everything myself. I know that, but he's demanding a full audit of your company's early years, every meeting, every introduction, every contract. I felt the blood drain from my face, not because he could prove anything, but because an audit would reveal just how hard I'd worked to succeed without his help. How many doors had been closed in my face? How many times I'd been rejected because I refused to use the family name. Let him try, I said, but my voice shook. After hanging up, I found Ruby watching me with concern. Don't say it, I warned. Wasn't going to. She gathered her things. But maybe it's time to ask yourself, what hurts more, that they never believed in you, or that even now, with all your success, they still won't admit they were wrong? I stared out her office window at the Manhattan skyline. My empire stretched across those buildings, touch points of success in every luxury boutique and high-end retailer. I'd built it all while they mocked my hobby. My phone buzzed again, an email from my mother. Please, sweetheart, we can fix this. Come home. Home. As if that house had ever really been home. I deleted the email, but my hands were shaking. Damn it, I whispered. Ruby squeezed my shoulder as she left. The thing about revenge, Sloane, sometimes it costs more than the original injury. I watched my reflection in the window, wondering when I'd started looking as haunted as they did. The courtroom felt smaller than I expected. My father sat across the aisle, his expensive suit now wrinkled, his face haggard. My mother wasn't there. According to Mrs. Wolfe, she'd been prescribed anxiety medication and rarely left her sister's house. Wyatt slumped in the back row, looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. All rise, the bailiff called. Ruby squeezed my hand before taking her seat behind me. Cecilia arranged her documents at our table, her expression grim. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. "We could still settle." "No," I straightened my spine. "Let's finish it." The judge reviewed the complaints, then looked at my father's lawyer. "You may proceed." What followed was a character assassination dressed as legal argument. My father's lawyer painted me as a manipulative daughter who'd stolen family connections, betrayed trust, and deliberately orchestrated my family's financial ruin. Then came the evidence. "Your Honour," my father's lawyer held up a document. "This shows Miss Bennet using her father's business contacts to secure early contracts." "Objection," Cecilia stood. "Those aren't her father's contacts. They're clients who chose to work with her company based on merit." "Really?" He smiled coldly, then explained this email, where she mentions her father's name. "To explain why she specifically wouldn't be using family connections," Cecilia countered. "The full email, please." The complete message appeared on the courtroom screen. My words from 8 years ago. "While my father is known in financial circles, I'm building this company independently. My success or failure will be my own." A murmur ran through the courtroom. I saw my father shift uncomfortably. "And the trust fund allegations?" The judge peered at the lawyers. Cecilia produced the forged documents. "Evidence of unauthorized transfers, Your Honour, with falsified signatures." My father stood up suddenly. "It was for the family. Everything I did was for this family." "Mr. Bennet," the judge warned, "sit down." "No," he pointed at me. "She's twisted everything. She let us believe we were secure while plotting to destroy us." "You destroyed yourselves," I finally spoke. "I just stopped enabling it." "Enabling?" He laughed bitterly. "You're my daughter. Family takes care of family. Like you took care of me." I stood too, ignoring Cecilia's warning tug on my sleeve. "Let's talk about family. Let's talk about every time you dismissed my work, every time you mocked my ambitions, every time you stole from my future to cover his gambling debts." I pointed at Wyatt. "Order!" The judge banged her gavel. "You want to talk about family?" I continued. "Show them the account records, Cecilia. Show everyone exactly how they took care of my trust fund." The numbers appeared on screen, transfer after transfer, each one authorized by forged signatures. "And here," Cecilia highlighted a section, "are the gambling debts covered by these transfers. And here," another highlight, "are the luxury purchases. And here—" "Enough!" My father's face was purple. "You ungrateful—" "Ungrateful?" I laughed. "I built an empire while you were spending it. I succeeded despite you, not because of you. And now you're suing me because I finally stopped paying for your delusions?" The judge banged her gavel again. "Both of you, sit down! This is a courtroom, not a family therapy session." But something had broken open. Years of silence spilled out. "Tell them, Dad. Tell them how you really felt about my little hobby. Tell them what you said every time I achieved something. That it wasn't real work, that it wasn't respectable, that Wyatt was the only one with a real future. I was trying to protect you." "From what? Success, independence, self-respect." "From failure," he shouted. "From the humiliation of—" "Of what? Being more successful than you?" The courtroom went silent. My father seemed to deflate, aging years in seconds. "Your Honour," Cecilia said quietly, "we have documentation proving every allegation. The trust fund theft, the gambling cover-ups, the financial fraud. We're not just defending against their lawsuit. We're filing countercharges." The judge reviewed the evidence, her expression hardening. "Mr. Bennet, given these documents, I strongly advise you to withdraw your suit, unless you prefer to discuss these financial irregularities with the district attorney." My father slumped in his chair. His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. "Case dismissed," the judge declared. "And Mr. Bennett, I'd contact a criminal defense attorney if I were you." As people filed out, Wyatt caught my eye. "Was it worth it?" he asked softly. "Burning everything down?" I watched our father being consoled by his lawyer, saw the defeat in his shoulders, the ruin of his carefully maintained facade. "Ask me tomorrow," I replied. Ruby appeared at my side. "Come on, let's get out of here." But as we left the courthouse, I couldn't shake the feeling that winning felt nothing like I'd imagined. The moving truck pulled away from my new brownstone as Ruby helped me carry the last box inside. The autumn breeze scattered leaves across the steps, red and gold like the last embers of my revenge. "Nice place," she said, setting down the box. "Different from the old neighbourhood. That's the point." I unlocked my phone to find 3 missed calls from my mother and a text from Wyatt. "Dad took a plea deal, probation and restitution. Mum's asking about you." "You going to call them back?" Ruby asked, reading over my shoulder. "Eventually." I walked to the window, watching people pass by on the tree-lined street. No pretense here, no keeping up appearances, just life, unvarnished and real. The doorbell rang. Xander Wolf stood on my steps, holding a bottle of wine. "Housewarming," he explained, stepping inside, "though I suspect you have better vintages than this." "It's not about the price tag anymore." I led them to the kitchen, where moving boxes created makeshift seats. "How are they, really?" Xander considered his answer. "Your father's humbled, working as a financial consultant for a small firm, legitimate this time. Your mother's in therapy, finally dealing with her anxiety. And Wyatt." He smiled slightly. "He's actually attending his Gamblers Anonymous meetings." "Good for them." I meant it, surprising myself. "They're learning to live within their means," Xander continued. "It's not pretty, but it's honest, rather like that conversation in court." Ruby poured the wine. "Speaking of honest conversations..." My phone buzzed again, an email from Cecilia. "Your father asked about setting up a repayment plan for the trust fund. Small amounts, but consistent. He seems sincere." "Are you going to accept?" Ruby asked. "I don't need the money." "That's not why he's offering," Xander observed. "Sometimes repayment is about more than money." The doorbell rang again. This time it was Mrs. Wolf, carrying a small package. "Found this while helping your mother pack," she said, handing it to me. "She wanted you to have it." Inside was a framed photo I'd never seen before. Me at 16, hunched over my first laptop, completely absorbed in coding. On the back, my mother's handwriting. "Sloane's first website design. She's so focused, just like her father used to be." "She kept this?" My voice cracked. "She kept a lot of things," Mrs. Wolf said gently. "Pride is a complicated thing to swallow, dear. For all of you." My phone lit up with another text from Wyatt. "Remember when you helped me with my science fair project? Before everything got so messed up? I miss that sister." "The thing about revenge," Ruby said quietly, "is that it shows you who you really are. The question is, do you like what you see?" I looked around my new kitchen. No marble countertops or crystal glasses, just honest materials and morning light. On my laptop, a notification popped up. Another luxury brand wanting to partner with my company. Success built on merit, not manipulation. "I don't regret exposing the truth," I said finally. "But maybe there's room for a different kind of truth now." I picked up my phone and typed, "Mom, the house on Cedar Street, the small one you always said had potential. It's for sale, within your new budget. Just saying." The response came quickly. "Really? Would you look at it with me?" I showed the message to Ruby. "Is this a mistake?" "Depends," she replied. "Are you doing it to control them or to help them?" "I don't know yet." "Then that's your answer," Xander said. "You're already asking better questions." I typed back, Saturday morning, but we're taking my car, and afterward maybe coffee. There's some things I'd like to tell you about my company, my real company. Mum's response: I'd like that. I have things to tell you too. I'm sorry it took losing everything to learn how to listen. Mrs. Wolf raised her wine glass. To new foundations. To honest success, Ruby added. To real family, Xander offered. I looked at the photo again. That focused teenage girl who just wanted to build something of her own. She'd done it, but at what cost? Maybe now it was time to build something else. Something harder than an empire, more valuable than revenge. To truth, I said, raising my glass, all of it, even the parts that hurt. My phone buzzed one last time. Wyatt. Dad asked if you'd consider lunch someday. No agenda, no excuses, just lunch. I smiled, feeling the weight of revenge finally lifting. Tell him I know a place, nothing fancy, just real food, real talk. After all, I didn't believe in forgiveness. But maybe, just maybe, I believed in starting over.